boats. 5 hours of bullshit for 1 minute of fun. That's the way it is. So we've just come down, got on our new mooring and discovered a little leak in the bottom of the boat.
Well, g'day guys, welcome to Life on the Hulls. This week is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go a little bit, not so much off topic, but certainly we're going to deal with the problem that we had with Interim, our trailer sailor. Janet and I put it back on the mooring and realised we had firstly a massive problem with a bit of a leak in the hull, which was of grave concern. So we weren't prepared to leave it on the mooring for this 5 weeks that we were going to be away. Also, we snapped a winch cable on the swing keel. So there was a lot of things that needed to be done. So I thought I'm going to get in and get this done. Now I did promise you that while I was away, I had plenty of footage for you to ruminate on. And I hate to tell you, but we're going to get a little bit up close and personal this week. There's a lot of images of my legs and you know, you and I in the cabin together is going to be a bit close quarters, but you know, you just have to tolerate it for half an hour while I fix all these problems. It was an incredibly difficult job, the whole bloody thing, because you're in a tiny little space, and I can certainly feel for anyone working on their boats on YouTube that we're watching. You know, Mad's working on his yacht in Denmark, and you know, the guys on Lady Africa. I mean, God, the work that Ricky's been doing on putting those engines in is absolutely unbelievable. So well done, guys. I can certainly sympathise. I just can't wait to get a big boat, so I've got a little bit more room. But for now, I'm going to work my way through this episode, and please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and enjoy it, guys, while I'm sunning myself in Britain.
Oh, looky here. The old rotting plywood culprit. Jesus. Why do people persist in using plywood in boats? Honestly, you're just asking for it. That is just friggin' shit. Look at that. It's water. It's absolutely waterlogged. I mean, this is the problem with 90% of boats, is this shit. Honestly, I don't even know whether it's good plywood or not. How would you know? Look at it rotting. I hate this stuff. Asked for some help from the brothers, and none of them want to get wet because they're all a bit soft. So I found a bottle of water. I'm going to tip it down in that front compartment and just watch where the water goes. And I guarantee in about 30 seconds it's going to come down into this spot down here. Excuse my parted legs there, boys. But yeah, here we go. Watch this. That's my problem. Bastard. Absolute bastard. Yet to make it through there, which doesn't sort of make sense, but anyway, that was my problem, and here it comes. There's a whole litre of water about to start pouring in here. So the old process of elimination wins again. So looks like I've got a bit of a job on my hands. Definitely leaking from the bow and under pressure, so I've got a little bit of repair to be done up there, and at least I know where it is. I'm going to let it dry out for a day or so, get some high pressure air in here, blast it clean, wipe it with acetone, and I might even flow coat out that bloody chamber while I'm at it, and then hopefully that's going to be the end of it. I'm back down in Interim today. It's the next day after I came in and destroyed all this. I'm now gonna clean out the front hatch up in here. There's a spot, there's a tiny little pinhole, and I can see light for about that. So obviously we've bumped it on the trailer, or something untoward's happened when we've launched it, or it's been grounded on a rock or something. I don't really know, but obviously what we've chipped off has revealed a pinhole. That's where it's leaking. It's going from the front hatch, then gravity's bringing it down here to the center box. So thank God it's not in the center box. I can repair it. I'm going to get in with my roller sander, clean it up, get a couple of patches on in there. Then I'm going to go outside and work on the outside as well. Luckily I can sort of fix that, get it all flow coated or gel coated, or flow coated probably, and then a bit of anti-foul on it to finish the job and solve my bloody problem. And then it's onto the winch. I'm not really sure how I'm going to fix that because I've got a new cable. I'm going to Sydney tomorrow. I'm going to likely drop into the ship chandler up there and get some 19x7 stainless cable and make my own. I do have a swage. I might even swage 3 or 4 while I'm in the shop there, because they've got a swaging tool there. So it might be the go. I might make 3 or 4 cables, I think, to keep them as spare. I had a feeling it was coming in through this seat under here, but it's actually coming through a hole in the hull up there, where it's obviously hit a rock or something, or banged against the trailer and come along here, and it's coming down under this. This is all one module, all this, and obviously glassed in, traced it all the way back, and then the gravity's bringing it to this point where it's finally making its way out into the hull on both sides. So I'm pretty happy that I found it. I'm going to have a lot of restorative work to do here, you know, a few hours work glassing everything back in. But the good thing is that I found all this rotting plywood. I got rid of the bulk of that. But if you have a look up here in the V-berth, if you can call it that, more like a one dog berth, there's actually now a hole. You can see there's a light patch here. This was a pinhole in the hull, and obviously it had chipped off where it's hit the trailer or something, but it's been doing it for some time, because down in here, yuck, that glass there holding this module is saturated, so it's been taken on some water for some time. But that hole there, I'll be able to glass that from the inside and also from the outside, wax some more anti-foul on it, and that should be my problem solved. So yeah, not happy to have to destroy the bloody cosmetics of the boat, but I'll get some cream gel coat and some flow coat and be able to fix this up pretty quickly. You know, it's not, I haven't destroyed the modules, I'm just going to do a bit of restorative work. So yeah, it just goes to show you can bring things, often you have to trace things, and unfortunately you got to destroy things to get to it. But yep, if I hadn't have cut out that, I wouldn't have known that it was coming from further up, and then I wouldn't have sourced it from up there.
So next cab off the rank was the winch and the cable, and then I discovered that the actual sheave, the exit sheave that was on the deck, was absolutely seized as a result of all its of the weight on it and the several breakages that it had. So set about removing that, because I thought I'm going to have to buy a new one, and they're not easy to find, and it was actually wrapped in almost like cardboard or packing tape or something, and then glass. So yeah, another big job ahead, and I got straight into that, and this is how I did it. So this here is my winch cable for the centre keel. It's the sheave, or an exit. I guess you'd call it a halyard or an exit sheave. I think it's an RF547 is the number. It's seen better days. It's pretty much seized. It still turns, but it's locked. So I'm going to give restoring this a go, because I think they're around about $100. I'll probably end up spending about $100 a time on it, but I'd rather repurpose it, to be honest. I reckon with a little bit of polishing and a little bit of filing, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the wheel other than it needs a good clean up, and then I can get that back in, and then I'll re-glass that back into place, and then ultimately you get another cable. But I'll give that a go over the next couple of days. I'll just pull it apart. I'm going to have to probably grind the pin out here and then put a nut and a bolt through here, which won't affect the function of it, because I'm going to ultimately glass around that anyway, probably make it better anyway. Alright, so I'm going to use my little Dremel. I've got one of these Easy Lock grinders. I find they're a bit safer than the original ones, but this little pin in here, we're going to try and grind that out, because if I can get that out, I can get the pulley out, and then I'll be able to give it a good polish. So I should now be able to just punch out that center, which is, yes, that's going to come out. Shitty looking pulley, but the thing is, this has got to take 300 kilos of lead, so I'm going to need a high tensile stainless bolt in there, but yeah, that'll clean up. I'm just going to straighten everything up, put it back together. Yep. So a great way to rejuvenate old rusty pulleys. I mean, this thing's seen better days, is just with some simple wet and dry sandpaper, and obviously start at about 600 grit and work your way up, and you know, get yourself to whatever polish you want. I mean, you'd end up bringing that back to to a perfect finish. The issue with the groove in this one is it's actually quite scarred because of the cable that was sitting in there with 300 kilos of weight hanging on it. And there is an issue with these swing keels, is that if you've got it on a trailer and you haven't actually rested it down on the trailer, then the cable's going, when you're driving on, it's going bounce, 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 and wearing on this. So what I do whenever I'm trailing, I actually rest the pulley and let it down and let the keel sit down on the rollers or on the trailer strut, so that there's no bouncing motion with that keel. Very important with trailerable yachts. It's something that, you imagine driving along 300 kilos bouncing up and down. Eventually your cable's going to snap. And I'd say that's probably contributed to part of this problem here, is that it's been sat here for a long time just hanging with its cable down. And I'd like a way of locking the keel in place when it's actually on the mooring, and there's no real way to do it, unfortunately, unless I could get one on the end and have it fed up through the boat and cleat it in place. And I mean, that may be something I'd do if I bust another cable. I'm certainly going to consider it. So I love these little, what we call a riffler file, and my father used to love these things, and these are great for just getting into places that you can't get into any other thing else. They're great for getting into little nooks and crannies. And I have basically a full set of these little guys. You can buy these for next to nothing. But they are very, very good because they've got a surface on them that is quite mild. So I've rebuilt it. It's had a pretty good polish. I mean, it's come up all right and it's spinning freely now. But what I've done, I've actually added a couple of Delrin washers on each side of the pulley here, because that was the problem, a lot of the friction and any crap getting caught in there. So that should outlive the boat. But, at least it's spinning now. That's going to save a lot of my problems. So, yep, always good to keep on top of the maintenance. This is going to be a mongrel to put back in. I'm not really sure how I'm going to put it back in because I've got to glass it in place. So I've put the sheave back in place, but I actually removed the wheel, the pulley out of it. And the reason why I did that is because I've epoxied it down and then I'm going to glass around it. The other thing I'm doing here is I've got a hole saw here. I'm going to cut out a small inspection hatch here so I can change the cable. Now I'm hoping I'm in the right spot. It should be exactly over the shackle that I put in there originally. So hopefully I should be able to do this on the job. And I'm going to put in a 5-inch hatch here. This is only a 100mm hole saw, but it'll sort of give me the right location.
There you go.
Oh, there's a second. Good move. Turning off.
You do know what you're doing?
That is it. Perfect. Look how,
Geez, that's thick, isn't it?
yeah, look how thick it is.
That's a thick boat.
No wonder it took to get through it.
This will never sink.
No, but look at that. That's
You
the
don't
shackle.
want to call it the Titanic anyway.
That shackle there, I can actually get to that with a pair of pliers. Cool. Okay, well that's half of it. You can see my problem. I've got the keel here, and I can't cut any deeper than where the keel is because I can't lower the keel. So I'm going to have to drill it and continue to just gnaw away at it with my either my multi-tool or my little Dremel grinder, I think, will be the next thing. But I've got half of it cut with the jigsaw. I just can't do any more because the keel's sitting there. Oh, it's a bit rough, but it'll work. Now I'm gonna have to trim this hatch because it's too deep. This here is hitting the keel. So I've now I cut probably about 6mm off the top of this hatch. Now you can see here that line there. I've actually cut that. I've just given it a sand. I haven't got a lot to work with here because this is the center box and this is the keel. So this needs to fit pretty much perfectly without interfering with that keel. And I've achieved it by just cutting that little bit excess off. I don't know what I would have done had I not been able to cut that off and maybe affect the thread. But, you know, that's ready to put on now. I'm going to put some marine sealant. I've got here some Sikaflex. Sikaflex Black. Now, good recommendation is to use methylated spirits or some sort of white spirit like this guy here as a cleaner when you're putting in Sikaflex, because it's going to go everywhere whether you like it or not. But I'm going to put a sealant around the base of it. You don't need a lot, but you need enough to make sure that those little ridges there are all full to give you maximum grip. Now, I'm not going to sand the surface of the boat. I'm going to leave that smooth, because often you end up with a slightly better seal with the Sikaflex. And basically, once these are screwed in, that's going to be all it needs, really. So my GoPro battery just went flat, but I've just put some self-tappers and I've half screwed them in, so I've got locating pins. Very important when you put on these hatches that you don't screw them in and overlise the hatch. It needs to be exactly right, so you need to do it nice and gently. It is a common problem when I used to fit them to kayaks in our shop. We used to find a lot of people that actually put these in and sort of contort them into the hole rather than let the hatch fit the hole, rather than try to force it in, because then the hatch won't seal properly and then you're wasting your time effectively. All right, that didn't go as planned. My gun carked it in the middle of it. It's typical, isn't it? But I've got enough sealant on there now to lay this down. You don't need a hell of a lot. You need about a 5mm bead all the way around, because ultimately it's going to get squished in and then you're going to wipe most of it out. It's always a good idea at this stage, before you go securing anything and before everything glues dry, make sure your hatch fits. Perfect, look at that. Problem solved. I can now access my winch cable. Clean up now is just simply a good couple of wipes with the methylated spirits. I find it's absolutely brilliant for cleaning this stuff up. You know, the first couple of wipes is messy, but ultimately it cleans it to perfection.
So with the sheave actually epoxied back in place, I then set about glassing this in. I actually wrapped some packing tape around it. In fact, I think that's what they'd done 40 years ago. Wrapped some tape around it reasonably loosely so that nothing would stick to the actual sheave. I just wanted to make sure the base was glassed in, and set about laminating a pretty solid cone around the outside of it and attaching it down to the centre box. Very important, I put quite a lot of double bias in here. I think I ended up with about 8 or 9 layers. I can't actually remember how many I put on. I just kept putting it on until it was around about 5mm thick. But it certainly really beefed it up and was a lot more substantial than it was there originally. But yeah, the peel ply at the end made a nice smooth finish, and I was pretty happy with that result.
I am pretty happy with the way this, I think a lot of guys call this the volcano on the Catalina 22s. Look, I've got that sheave working, and now I can access the keel with that hatch. I mean, this is an absolutely brilliant solution. And I've epoxied the sheave down, so I've rebuilt the sheave and then I've epoxied it to the floor, and then I put about 9 layers of 600 gram cloth around here. I mean, that is just rock solid. That's never going to move, even with, you know, 300 kilos of keel weight on it. You know, probably never going to have to do it again. It's 40 years since it's been touched, so it's probably a good chance that it's never going to need it again in my lifetime. But, you know, if I want to give this off to my kids or sell it to somebody else, you want to make sure stuff's right. I can't stand a half-assed job.
Now, if you've seen our earlier episode where I restored the trailer sailor probably about a year ago, you'll remember that I had to put in a guide to keep the cable off the off that winch handle. So that actually worked a treat. It never was an issue. I could have gone about it a million different ways, but that's what I did, and it was so good to get that thing finished. Okay, we've had an executive meeting, Janet and I, and the Bimini on our little trailer sailor is about this much higher than our heads. I originally, I don't know whether you remember, way back when I bought it, I put a Bimini on it, a 4-bow Bimini, that I cut short. I spent a hell of a lot of time and almost days working out the angles, getting it all right, and yes, it works, but the problem with it is that it's below the boom, and you're actually like you're in a little cubby house. So we made the decision for the 120 bucks it's cost to buy a new Bimini, and the beauty of it is that it's the same colour, same size and everything as the other one, that the cover we already have, which is in perfect condition, is going to suffice as a spare for the yacht, which means we can leave it out more often, because I'm always hesitant to leave them out too long because they do wear in the sun here in Australia. I mean, pretty much everything, including myself, doesn't handle the Aussie sun real well. So got a new Bimini. I'm going to cut it open, going to get it on interim because I want to put it back on the mooring this weekend for the second time, and then I'm going to leave it because we want to go out for a day's sail. It was meant to take about 10 minutes. It's taken about friggin' 4 hours. Finally got it mounted. It was a little bit of a challenge. I've broken the wind vane off the top of my mast, so I'm gonna have to, I'm going to the boat show tomorrow, Sydney Boat Show, so I'm hoping I can get one there, or I'll just order one online. Just means that I've got to take the mast down again if I can't get one tomorrow to put it on. But anyway, that's done. So that now works fine. And the only thing is that the boom's got to go underneath it when we're at rest. And it's not going to give us anywhere near as much sun protection as the other one does because it's high. Okay, and all packed away. Now it's going to introduce a couple of other little problems. Whenever we drop the mast, it's going to sit on the Bimini. So I'm going to have to be careful I don't damage the Bimini with the mast as we drop it. But then we've got to slide the mast forward and underneath and sit on this bracket here. So not really sure what to do. Might actually fashion up another one of these brackets that's actually higher, because that'll solve a lot of the problem. Jesus, how much do you do, you know? How much more do you do? I do have a steel frame over here that I could really use that. It is galvanised or Duragal, I guess. That frame there, I could make the bracket out of that. In fact, that's probably what I'll do. That's probably exactly what I'll do. Pretty simple fix because it's only cable tied onto here, and I could do that. You know, how much more can I do? How much more of this can I do? It would be good because it'd also get the solar panel up higher. So yeah, it looks like that's what I'm going to do. Oh well, more work to do. Maybe not straight away, but I could get the measurements at least, and I could even take that down and put it on at a later date. So that calls that project finished. The new Bimini, essentially I've fixed a hole in the bottom of it, I've repaired the inside of it, I have repaired the winch cable, I've done the new volcano, and yeah, pretty much it's now ready to go. So we're going to repurpose this old life jacket drying rack to make a new frame up over my Bimini on the trailer sail. I'm going to do it like as quick as I can because I just want to get on with it. Right, so here it is. Going to get my welder on after lunch, get this all welded up. It's a lot bigger than the other one, and it's got a bit more bracing because it's a bit longer. I'm a bit worried it might bend as you climb up, but you know, mounting it to the stanchions here and possibly some sort of another brace back to the Bimini might be the answer. But anyway, it's ready to go. I'm going to just pack up a little bit, go and have some lunch, come back and weld it up. Righto, here it is. So I'm just gonna take the boom off. I'll go and give it a spray with some gal and take the boom off, and then I'm gonna put it back in place. I'll probably give it a couple of coats of this cold gal because it's not stainless, unfortunately. I just haven't got the energy for it, and to be honest, it's not gonna last that long. So before the big boat's here, but this will do the job. It'll hold the boom up, and it'll also make sure that the Bimini still operates properly. Pretty damn flash, if I don't say so myself. Tying them out this, it's had 3 coats of cold gal. I may paint it another time. I'm just going to get it in place because I really want to go out tomorrow or the day after. So let's get it up here. Pretty much sits in place. Oh, beautiful. Today's a day, team. 9 weeks and 2 goes at getting it back in the water, and today's the day. We're going to take it down, rig it, put it on the water, anchor it up out the front, and in the morning we're going to go sailing. Wow, we're going to go sailing. Cannot wait, absolutely cannot wait to take her out. With all the repairs I've done, it should be pretty good. Morning everyone. Yesterday we rigged interim up down at the boat ramp, which is about probably a K down there. This is just out in front of where we live, sort of just down the road from where we live. And yeah, we had a bit of a leak. That hatch I put in the centre box started to leak, so we were then a bit hesitant to go and put it on the mooring. We're going to leave it on the mooring for the night, so we brought it up here, beached it, chucked out an anchor at low tide, and then I walked down later on to about waist deep water and chucked an anchor out the back, so it didn't swing into this tree here through the night. So I'm down here at 8 o'clock in the morning. The timing's almost perfect, so we're about to head out for the day's sail, provided there isn't a foot of water inside the boat, and I haven't checked that yet. But yeah, this bloody boat, honestly, you learn a lot of lessons when you buy a little boat like this. So if you're thinking about a big boat, get yourself a little one, because you'll learn a heap. It's a bit brisk, isn't it? I reckon it's about 6 or 7 degrees, and I've got a jacket on. I never wear a jacket, but it's cold. My feet are freezing because they're wet. So we had a few leakage problems last night, and it's still got a tiny little drip, so it's coming out of the water again. It's only on the keel bolt. I've solved all the other ones, and yeah, it's just one of those things. Just got to check it. So this boat here is actually the 10.3 metre Voyager, which is actually the little sister of our boat that I'm building. So that's one of the power cats he did. He did 4 power cats, I believe, or 5 different ones in the Voyager range, but that's the 10.3 or the 1030 or 1040 it is. So yeah, that's pretty cool. While I was waiting for Janet, I was standing in the water. My feet got a bit cold, so got my paddling pants out. I'm trying to helm. Oh, God, I'll swing. Oh, that's better. We are wusses. Bit of swell coming into the creek today. Right now. It's fine.
Definitely some swell.